Welcome to our deep dive into Genesis 9.
Genesis 9.
It's all about new beginnings, second chances, and a promise so big it spans the sky. We're talking rainbows, folks, but before we get to that, there's a lot to unpack right from the start.
Right from the start, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
We're picking up after the flood.
yeah,
Remember, it's a clean slate for humanity.
exactly. And it's fascinating how God in Genesis 9.1 echoes the same command he gave to Adam and Eve back in Genesis 1. Be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. It's like he's reaffirming his original plan, but this time with a twist.
Yeah. This time there's permission to eat meat.
Oh, okay.
Every moving thing that liveth shall be meat for you, it says in Genesis 9.3.
Right.
It's a big change from the pre-flood diet of fruits and veggies.
Okay, so meat's on the menu now, but with a major caveat.
Yes.
No blood.
Right.
Why do you think that is? Seems a bit specific, doesn't it?
It absolutely is. And I think it points to something really profound.
The sanctity of life.
Okay.
Blood in the Bible often symbolizes life force, and God is drawing a line here. Even as humans are given dominion over animals, there's a reminder that life itself is sacred and should be treated with respect.
That's interesting. It's like even in this new era for humanity, there's still moral boundaries, right?
Yeah.
God is emphasizing that this isn't a free-for-all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that leads us to another crucial point in this chapter. The establishment of the first law against murder.
Oh, wow.
Genesis 9.6 is so powerful.
Yeah.
Whoso sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed. For in the image of God made he man.
That's heavy stuff. It's a clear statement about the inherent value of every human life, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's not just about punishment for a crime.
Right.
It's about recognizing that every human being carries the image of God, and that makes them inherently precious.
Yeah.
It's a concept that has shaped ideas of justice and accountability throughout history.
It makes you think about how our actions impact others, doesn't it?
It really does. Yeah.
Taking a life isn't just a personal act. It disrupts the very order God has established.
Right.
Now, we can't talk about Genesis 9 without diving into one of the most significant events in the Bible,
Yes.
the Noahic covenant.
That's the Noahic covenant.
This is big.
You're right. This covenant is foundational.
Yeah.
And what's so unique about it is that it's unconditional and eternal.
Wow.
It encompasses all living creatures and promises that God will never again flood the earth.
Never again flood the earth.
It's a huge deal.
It really is. And the symbol of this covenant is something we all know and love. The rainbow.
The rainbow.
It's not just a pretty sight after a storm. It's a visible reminder of God's promise. But here's something that really blew my mind when I first learned it. Genesis 9.16 suggests that the rainbow isn't a reminder for us, but for God himself.
That's right.
Whoa.
Think about that for a second.
Yeah.
It's a sign that triggers God's own memory of his promise. It speaks to the depth of his commitment to his creation, a
Yeah.
commitment that goes beyond our understanding.
It really changes how you see rainbows, doesn't it?
It really does, yeah.
It's like we're witnessing this incredible visual representation of God's unwavering faithfulness every time one appears in the sky.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
it's not just about his faithfulness to humans.
Right.
This covenant includes all living creatures.
Yeah.
It speaks volumes about the scope of his love and mercy.
Now, after all this talk of new beginnings and divine promises, we encounter a bit of a, well, let's just say an interesting family dynamic. The story of Noah, his vineyard, and his son Ham.
Right.
What's your take on this?
What's a reminder that even righteous individuals like Noah, someone who just steered humanity through a catastrophic flood, are still human. They make mistakes.
Yeah.
He plants a vineyard, has a bit too much wine, and ends up in a vulnerable position.
And that's where Ham comes in. He sees his father in this state and things get complicated.
Right.
The text itself is a bit vague about what exactly Ham did, mentioning only that he saw the nakedness of his father in Genesis 9.22. Some scholars believe it was a simple observation, while others interpret it as mockery or disrespect.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of debate about the specific nature of Ham's actions, but the consequences are clear.
Okay.
Noah, upon waking, curses Ham's son Canaan.
Oh.
And this curse has repercussions throughout biblical history. As Canaan's descendants, the Canaanites are often associated with wickedness and idolatry.
It makes you think about the weight of our actions within our families, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And the potential for consequences that can ripple through generations.
It does.
Yeah.
This story raises important questions about respect for authority, family honor, and the impact our choices can have, not just on ourselves, but on those who come after us.
It's a sobering reminder that even with a fresh start, a new covenant, and the promise of a brighter future, human fallibility is still very much part of the picture.
Right.
Even Noah, the righteous man who walked with God, stumbles.
And yet God's plan continues to unfold.
Yeah.
Despite human failings, Noah's 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, become the fathers of all nations.
Right.
Humanity's lineage continues branching out across the globe. It's incredible to see how God works through it all.
It's a powerful testament to God's resilience, isn't it?
It is.
His purposes aren't thwarted by human mistakes. He's still weaving his plan into the fabric of human history.
Absolutely. And that brings us to a fascinating point about the ending of Genesis 9. It's a chapter filled with contrasts. New beginnings and old patterns, divine promises and human failings, judgment and mercy.
It's a lot to take in. What resonates with you the most as we reflect on this incredible chapter?
For me, it's the unwavering faithfulness of God. Despite humanity's brokenness, he remains committed to his creation. He offers second chances, establishes covenants, and ensures the continuation of life. That rainbow serves as a tangible reminder of his unwavering commitment.
Right.
It's a beautiful image to hold on to.
Yeah.
Even amidst the storms of life, there's a promise of hope and renewal.
Yeah.
It really is. A promise of hope and renewal. Yeah. Genesis 9, for all its complexities, offers a profoundly hopeful message. It speaks to the resilience of humanity, the enduring power of God's grace, and the promise of a future shaped by divine faithfulness.
You know, it's so easy to get lost in the details, the rules, the consequences. But you're right. At its core, this chapter is about God's unwavering commitment to his creation.
And that commitment extends to each and every one of us. Just as he established a covenant with Noah and his descendants,
Right.
he extends a covenant of grace to all who believe.
That connection to our lives today is so powerful. It's like we're part of this larger narrative,
Yeah.
a divine plan that unfolds across generations.
And within that plan, we're invited to participate, to be agents of God's love and grace in the world. Just as Noah and his family were called to be fruitful and multiply, to steward creation and uphold justice,
Right.
we too are called to live out our faith in tangible ways.
So it's not just about reading and understanding these stories.
No.
It's about applying their timeless truths to our lives today. That's a great point.
Absolutely. Genesis 9 challenges us to examine our own lives, our relationships, our choices. It prompts us to ask, how are we reflecting God's image in the world? How are we honoring the sanctity of life? Are we living in a way that demonstrates respect for authority and family honor?
Wow. Those are big questions.
Fair.
But you're right. They're important ones to wrestle with. This chapter, for all its ancient context,
Yes.
really speaks to the human condition, to the challenges and opportunities we face in our own lives today, wouldn't you say?
I couldn't agree more. And it reminds us that we're not alone in this journey. Just as God was with Noah, guiding him through the flood and establishing a new covenant,
Right.
he's with us, offering his grace, his guidance, and his unwavering presence.
What a comforting thought to know that even when we stumble, even when we make mistakes, God's faithfulness endures.
It really is a powerful truth that we see woven throughout the entire biblical narrative.
Yeah.
From Genesis to Revelation, we witness a God who pursues his people, who offers redemption, and who remains steadfast in his love.
You know, that brings me to a question I've been pondering. If the rainbow serves as a reminder for God, does it also hold a deeper meaning for us? What are your thoughts on that?
That's a fascinating question. I think it absolutely does.
Yeah.
The rainbow for us can be a symbol of hope, a reminder of God's faithfulness,
Right.
a sign that even after the storms of life, beauty and renewal are possible.
I love that. It transforms the rainbow from just something we see to an active engagement with our faith.
Yes.
It becomes a personal reminder of God's presence in our lives.
And it invites us to look for those rainbow moments in our own lives.
Right.
Those moments where we experience God's grace in unexpected ways, where we witness his faithfulness in the midst of trials, where we see beauty emerging from brokenness.
It's like a treasure hunt for signs of God's love and presence in the everyday.
Exactly. And those signs are all around us if we have the eyes to see them. They may not always be as grand as a rainbow spanning the sky, but they are just as meaningful, just as powerful.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Genesis 9, I want to leave our listeners with this challenge. What are the rainbows in your life? What are those signs, those moments, those experiences that remind you of God's faithfulness and presence?
Take some time to reflect on that question. Journal your thoughts, share them with a friend, or simply sit in quiet contemplation. You might be surprised by what you discover.
And remember, even amidst the complexities of life, even in the face of challenges and uncertainties, God's covenant of grace remains steadfast. The rainbow is a testament to that enduring promise, a beacon of hope illuminating our path.
It's so easy to go through life missing those little whispers, those gentle nudges from God. But when we start paying attention, we begin to see his fingerprints everywhere.
It's like learning a new language, isn't it?
It really is.
Once you know the vocabulary, you start hearing it everywhere you go.
Yeah.
Suddenly those everyday moments take on a whole new meaning.
Yeah.
Learning a new language, And that's what I love about deep diving into Scripture like we're doing here with Genesis 9.
Yeah.
It attunes our hearts and minds to the language of faith.
Right.
To the ways in which God communicates with us.
I agree completely. And Genesis 9 is such a rich text for this kind of exploration. It's layered with symbolism and meaning that invites us to dig deeper, to uncover those hidden treasures within.
I think for me, one of the most important takeaways is this idea that even amidst the messiness of human nature, even when we make mistakes, God's plan persists. He doesn't give up on us.
That's a powerful truth that resonates throughout the Bible.
Yeah.
From the very beginning, we see a God who pursues his people, who offers redemption, and who remains steadfast in his love.
And Genesis 9 is such a vivid example of that.
It is.
We see the potential for both great good and great harm, the capacity for both righteousness and fallibility. We see the consequences of sin, but also the incredible power of grace.
Exactly. It's a story that challenges us, encourages us, and ultimately points us toward the heart of God. It reminds us of his power, his faithfulness, and his unwavering love for humanity.
You know, sometimes I think we can get so caught up in trying to be perfect, in trying to avoid making mistakes, that we miss out on the beauty of God's grace.
It's true. We can become so focused on our own shortcomings that we forget that God's grace is sufficient for all of us.
Right.
No matter what we've done, no matter how many times we've messed up, his love is still there.
That's such an important message for us to remember, especially in the world we live in today.
It really is.
There's so much pressure to be perfect, to have it all together. But Genesis 9 reminds us that it's okay to be human, to make mistakes, to stumble.
Right.
Because even when we do, God is still with us, guiding us, loving us, and working through us.
And that, I believe, is the ultimate takeaway from Genesis 9. It's a call to embrace our role in God's unfolding story, to live lives that reflect his image, and to trust in his unwavering faithfulness no matter what storms we may face.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Genesis 9, I want to leave you with this thought. Remember those rainbow moments we talked about? Those signs of God's presence and faithfulness in your everyday life? Keep looking for those. Let them remind you of the beauty and hope that God is constantly offering us. Even amidst the complexities of life, God is moving, his plan is unfolding, and his grace is sufficient for all.